Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Rescue Owners Live. My name is Kirk Mote, your host. This is season 2, episode 14, and today we have a very special guest for you. Amberly Lago is a peak performance coach, TEDx speaker, podcaster, and a leading expert in the field of resilience and transformation. She's the best-selling author of True Grit and Grace and the founder of Unstoppable Life Mastermind. Through her book, coaching methods, and masterminds, she has curated unique tools to teach others how to tap into the superpower of resilience and elevate their lives and businesses. Amberly has most recently been featured on NBC's The Today Show, The Doctors, Hallmark, and featured in magazines such as Shape, Fit Pregnancy, Yahoo, Forbes, USA Today, LA Style, Health Magazine, Keynote Speaker Magazine, and Disability Magazine. Give it up for my friend Amberly Lago.
Hey,
how's it going?
So good to see you.
So
And thank
good.
you for that very kind introduction. Yeah, it's so good to see you again. So thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. First of all, I want to thank you for spending your time this evening because time is the most valuable thing. So thank you for joining us on Rescue Owners Live. You're in front of business owners. And so Rescue Owners Live was essentially created for business owners so that we can help teach them how to build and create their business more effectively, efficiently, and profitably, all while achieving their personal, professional, financial goals. And I know you're going to bring some excellent insights into that. So we met, what was it, about a month or so ago at Ken Jocelyn's event, right?
Yes, that was so much fun. We were in Atlanta with
Yep.
Ken Jocelyn, our good friend, and we actually met. And at the after party, we were everybody was
Everyone was dancing.
letting loose, and so we know how to work hard and play hard. So yeah, that was a good event.
Oh man, it was a lot of fun and learned a lot too. You were one of the speakers, so learned a lot from you. Took a ton of notes, and wanted to bring you on to my audience because I know that they can definitely learn something from what you had to say from your story. And Amberly, if you don't mind, could you kind of, for those who don't know your background, could you kind of dive a little bit deeper into who you are, what you do, why you do it?
Yeah, you know what? Thank you again for having me. And I just wanted to share. Um, this past weekend, I got to see my greatest mentor, my first mentor. I started dancing when I was 3 years old, and I had not seen my dance teacher in years. And my niece had a competition, and she takes dance lessons from my dance teacher. So I got to see her, and we hugged and we cried because she taught me so much more than dance. She taught me how to run a business. She taught me, and this will really be dating myself, but we used to teach, I taught dance, and we would put the needle on the record. And she would say, when you put the needle on the record, I don't care what's going on in your life. You turn around to that classroom and you smile because it's about them and not you.
Mhm.
And so that seemed really harsh at the time, but she really taught me how to serve others well. She taught me how to show up because if we were not early, we were late. And if we were late, then we were cut. So there were no second chances. So it taught me to show up early to everything that I do. But it was really cool to get to see her. I knew from a really young age that I was a little bit different from this small town that I grew up in Texas. And once I figured, oh my goodness, these people on TV are getting paid to dance in those music TV videos on MTV. I'm like, that's what I want to do. And so I worked 4 jobs. When I was 13, I started teaching dance. Then I worked lifeguarding. I babysat. I also worked at this little place in the mall called the Cookie Jar. So whatever I could do, I eventually earned $1,200, packed up my little Suzuki Samurai, and off I went to make it big in Hollywood against a lot of people who thought I was crazy, who were like, you are never going to make it. And so everybody listening in, I did make it as a dancer. I traveled the world. My first video was with MC Hammer dancing in the music video, Can't Touch This. Um, and I had a
Nice.
really successful career in dance. Yeah. That's why I was so crazy on the dance floor in Atlanta.
That makes so much more sense now.
But for those listening, you know, there's going to be a lot of people that don't believe in your vision. They think they might even think you're crazy. I've had people think that I was crazy to go on and write a book after being a dancer and then in the fitness industry. After being a dancer, I was in the fitness industry for 26 years and had a fitness career where I had trainers that worked for me. I was doing infomercials and fitness videos. And, you know, I remember my ex-boyfriend saying, why don't you get a real job? Well, I bought my first house on my own, being a single mom with my fitness career. I went on after, you know, a horrific accident to do what I'm doing now. And so it's so important for you to hold that vision. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's meaningful to you, if it brings you joy, if it's what you're passionate about, keep holding that vision and work hard every day. That's where the grit comes in. And really feed that vision with positivity. Now, for me, I really had to work hard and feed my mind, my body and soul with positivity, because when I was at the height of my fitness career, I mean, things were going good. I got married. I had 2 kids. I had this successful business. And in the blink of an eye, it all changed when I was coming home from work on my motorcycle and I got hit by an SUV. And so,
Wow.
yeah, you know, when you're on a motorcycle, it's freedom. I mean, if anybody who rides out there, they know the feeling. It's just this freedom. You have to be so in the moment, and you look to see if people see you. You drive very defensively just to make sure that you're going to be okay. And I could have sworn this guy saw me. I thought he made eye contact with me. And it was too late. He didn't. He made a left out of a parking lot and T-boned me. I was thrown 30 feet,
Hmm.
sliding across the asphalt. And all I could think about was, you know, I couldn't tell what I was sliding into. And I thought, please just don't let another car hit me. I looked down at my leg and it was completely crumbled. And still in that moment, I had no idea. I mean, my femoral artery was severed. There was blood everywhere. Thank God, you know, a guy came over and took his belt off right away and made a tourniquet around my leg, because you can bleed out pretty quick when your femoral artery is severed. But still in that moment, I realized, you know, my default was to think about, okay, well, what can I do? And I remember one of the very first thoughts I had was, well, this can't be good. I'll probably have to train clients on crutches for a while. And then I thought, well, my husband's going to be really mad at me. I've got a pulled pork sandwich in the back of this. Yeah, I had his brand new backpack, which ultimately really saved my life, because I slid across that on the asphalt and I had this pulled pork sandwich in the back. And I thought, oh, he's going to be so upset. Well, little did I know how serious it was until I saw someone look at me and they fainted in the street, and people weren't running over to me. They were walking slowly with a horrified look. I got in the back of the ambulance and I was squeezing the paramedic's leg, and I was just thinking, please give me some eye contact. I was wondering, I wanted him to look at me with some kind of reassurance, like, yeah, we've seen this before. You're going to be fine. They wouldn't look at me.
Hmm.
They were trying to take my jacket off, and, you know, I'm like, don't cut this. This is my brand new jacket. And they probably thought, this chick is crazy. She's dying and she's worried
Wow.
about her jacket. Got to the hospital. They had to put me in induced coma because my vitals were shutting down. I'd lost so much blood, just everything was shutting down. They couldn't control the pain. I woke up out of a coma, and the first thing I learned was, we're going to have to amputate your leg. There's no known cure for this because there's nothing we can do. It's just
Wow.
crushed. It's like a war wound. And at that point, they said, you only have a 1%. Not all I heard was, you have a 1%. And I said, well, great. Then there's still a chance. I want to find a doctor who's willing to take that chance with me.
Hmm.
And then I realized later they probably thought of that movie like Dumb and Dumber, like, oh, there's still a chance. I don't know if you ever saw the movie Dumb and Dumber, but
I'll be honest. I don't think I've seen that movie. I'm familiar with it.
the movie. But yeah, I mean, 34 surgeries and they saved my leg. And it's been a hell of a road to recovery. But the hardest part was when I decided to reinvent myself and wanted to go after a completely different career. And so I don't know exactly how old all of the listeners are, but I want to say it's never too late, because I know you have a lot of young listeners, but in case you have some older, I was 38 when this happened to me. I was 43 when I decided that there had to be more to life than me laying in a hospital bed all day and all night, because I was diagnosed with with complex regional pain syndrome, which is a nerve disease that leaves you in constant chronic pain.
Hmm.
And I just wanted to share, sometimes I get still self-conscious about that, because when I'm in a lot of pain, it kind of gives me brain fog. And I was feeling like a lot of pain tonight. And I'm like, oh gosh, please don't let me have this brain fog. I want to be so clear for his show. Um, and that's the thing, I have found that if you just be you and stay true and keep going after your dreams and you work hard, then there are endless possibilities. And I didn't write my book until, gosh, I was 46 years old. I didn't do my first TED Talk until I was 47 or 48. I didn't write my next book until I was 49, and I just turned 50 a couple of weeks ago, and I feel like I'm just beginning. So my intention is to really share some tips and some things that I've done along the way that have helped me to get from point A to point B in my business, that still continue to help me to be resilient, because I think that we all need resilience in our professional lives and our personal lives. And so, yeah, I'm just grateful to be here with all of you tonight.
Amberly, there's so much to unpack there. I mean, oh my gosh, the first thing you thought of is the pulled pork in your backpack for dinner. It's interesting because very first story you talked about was being a dancer and how it's not about them, or it's not about it's about them. It's not about you, right? So it's very interesting. It sounds like that kind of translated into every area of your life, even when you're at the worst. I mean, I would say like situation when you're on the ground, you're bleeding out, and you're still thinking about others, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the backpack. Oh, the pulled pork. Oh, I guess I'll just teach on crutches, right, for my clients. Like, that's incredible. I love that.
Thank you. I think my default has always been to, well, what's next? Well, what can I do? Because let me tell you, a lot of things in my life have not gone right, and I was the underdog in a lot of situations. When I started running track, I was never the fastest. I decided to try out for track and be in athletics the day that they had tryouts, and so I was like, somebody running beside me was like, you know what, this is hard. Maybe we should just give up. And I'm like, I'm not giving up. Thank God I didn't give up that day, because I went on to hold a record in the 2 mile for the fastest 2 mile in the state of Texas back when I was in, young.
Wow.
It's been broken long ago. But
State record, huh? That's
yeah, I was a
awesome.
miler. And I think that growing up being a dancer and growing up being an athlete, really that mindset taught me so much, not just with working out, but it taught me so much in how to get through the hard times in business, how to keep going when a lot of people would probably give up. I mean, look, just like my podcast is top 1% on Apple. Now, I didn't even look at the numbers when I first started my podcast. I was like, I'm just going to be consistent. I was like, I'm not going to get a bunch of sponsored ads on my show so people have to listen to that. I want to add value, add value, add value, so people want to come back and listen to my show. And I didn't even pay attention to the numbers.
Hey, what's your podcast called?
True Grit and Grace.
Well, I thought so.
Yeah, blinging it out. But I did not know what I was doing. Now I'm going to share this, and some people might be embarrassed to say this, but I'm kind of proud. I didn't even own a computer 5 years ago. Like,
Wow.
I decided to write my book and didn't have a computer, so I went out and bought a laptop. Learned, I knew I was a fast typer, but I didn't have really a need for a computer. I used my phone for stuff. My whole work was old school. Like, it was all handwritten charts and files, old school. And my business was word of mouth. And, to write a book, I'm like, I need a computer. Well, fast forward, here it is. I've had my podcast. I didn't know what I was doing. I just thought, I have a message. I want to share other people's story of resilience. I'm going to figure this out. I have a computer. I have a top show, not because it was the best show. It's because I have been consistent and persistent. I've not started and stopped or thought I'm going to give up and then took a break for a couple of months. I've shown my audience that I'm going to give you value consistently. I'm going to bring you the best guests consistently. And it took a while. It reminds me of like running a marathon, or training for a marathon. My gosh, it wasn't a fast sprint. It took me 2 years to get to top 1% podcast. But the key is, just like any kind of training, you take that persistence and that consistency with you, and your hard work starts to put you where your blessings can find you.
Ooh, I like that. Can you say that again?
What did I say?
Your hard work puts what?
Oh, your hard work puts you where your blessings can find you. And you know what? The other day, I said something, sometimes I get all fired up when I'm doing, something like this, and I say stuff, and I actually was kind of going on this rant, I guess. And I said, you know what? I don't believe in talent. I believe that your hard work puts you where your blessings can find you. And somebody got really upset with that. And I'm like, I didn't word that the way I should have. Yes, I believe there are people born and they're very genetically, they're going to be able to run a mile a lot faster than someone else. They've got different muscle fibers, different muscle tissues. Maybe their parents were runners and ran while they were in the womb. All these things that would contribute, history. I mean, and it's that, what my daughter is a horseback rider, and she rides competitively, and she's got this fancy, horse that we looked at the lineage of horses her horse came from, and it's like generations of champion horses. So yes, we are all born with, some others have a little bit more, I guess, good genetics. We're blessed with more rhythm so we can dance better, or different muscle fibers so we can run faster, whatever it may be. But I believe that hard work, more than talent, will get you further in life, because it's your hard work. It's the kindness that you show towards others. It's your courage to be willing to take action every single day to go for after what it is that you want in life and what you deserve in life. And so I just want to share, like, if somebody like me that doesn't have a college education, that didn't have a computer 5 years ago, can write a best-selling book and have a top podcast on Apple, top 1%, man, you can do anything. If I can do that, you can do anything.
I love that. And what an encouragement to everyone listening tonight, because it's so true. You mentioned something that made me think of the question, why is it that people give up so easily and on their dreams so easily? Because I'm sitting here thinking, okay, and you probably heard Robert Kiyosaki talk about, you save money for a rainy day, you go to school to get a job. You have like these things that, okay, in your 20s, you do this, in your 30s, you do this, in your 40s, you do this. Oh, I'm retiring at this age. And it's like, dude, you could completely reinvent yourself like Amberly did. Like, why is it that people put themselves in a box and give up so easily? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think that in this day and age that we are trained for instant gratification. I mean, look at social media. You post something, all of a sudden you get a lot of likes, and it's like you're happy, or you're upset. You scroll through TikTok and you instantly see something that makes you laugh, or you want something, order Amazon Prime. It's at your doorstep, and that night or the next day. I mean, fast food is just quicker to drive through than it is to make something that tastes better and that's better for your body. And so I think that we are so primed with our society for that instant gratification. If we can learn to have that delayed gratification. And for me, like I remember when I decided that I wanted to share my message with others to inspire them, and so they wouldn't give up hope, especially when they were, diagnosed with an incurable disease like me, or they had been through trauma, or they had lost it all. I mean, I had $2.9 million worth of medical expenses. We had a lien on our house. I was out of work for a year and a half. I was in and out of the surgery for years. I was in and out of surgery for 4 years. I'd have a surgery. I would come home, try to cover and get myself like I was like ready to go to battle and have another surgery. And so when I decided that I wanted to be a professional speaker, I didn't have a lot to go off of. We didn't have money. I started coaching again so I could earn money. My bread and butter has always been coaching. But then I thought, I want to be a speaker. I want to share this. I want to tell people that they can go after their dreams and they have hope. And so I spoke for free for years, for like 2 years, 3 years before, 2 years before I started getting paid. 3 years before I started getting paid really well at it. And I think a lot of times people make it look easy, especially on social media, like, oh, they're an overnight success. And I don't believe in overnight success. I mean, the mentality that it took for me to get through 34 surgeries and to pull up my bootstraps and reinvent myself was years of mental training and mental toughness and building my grit. And the thing is, we all have this resilience within us and we all have that grit, but it's our ability to work upon it, to tap into it and decide that we are going to build upon it and get stronger at it. So the next time it gets hard and we want to quit, or we come across a roadblock, or we hit a rejection or somebody or a failure, we don't quit. Instead, we say, okay, what's next? What can I learn from this? How can I improve my life from this? What lesson can I take away from this? And so if we can learn delayed gratification, when I first got money from my business, and my husband joked at me just the other day, he goes, well, you're going to make this money and you're going to invest it back in your business. And I'm like, yeah, I am, because I didn't get my first big check from my, speaking or my mastermind, got this big chunk. I didn't go out and blow it. I invested it back in my business so I could continue to grow my business, and eventually one day it'll pay off more and more and more. And so I think it's key to know that it's going to be hard, but know that there are ways to get through those hard times with your resilience. And there are ways to tap into your resilience. And that's, kind of my 5-part PACER method is how I teach people to tap into their resilience. But I think too, if we can really learn delayed gratification, then it's going to make the journey a lot easier.
Okay, so you hit a couple things I want to mention. Like, what can I learn from this situation? Whatever you're in, what can I learn from it? Because one thing I think about often is like, if I don't learn something, then guess what? I'm liable to like repeat that same exact lesson until I do learn it, right? So what's the discipline? Like, how much discipline does it take to kind of be self-aware, ask those questions of yourself on a daily, weekly, quarterly basis, whatever that looks like, to make sure that whenever something does happen to you, monumental or even small, that you're like, okay, what can I learn from this experience? Does it take discipline? Is it something that's just a habit by now? Like, how does it work for you?
Oh yeah, it's habit. And our it all, I think it starts with setting those habits, first believing that there is something better for us, and that's hope. And then, trusting that it can get better, and that's faith. And then taking action, and that's when our dreams start to come true. And so for me, it's not like I dang it, I still have all kinds of challenges. I mean, I was kind of chuckling when you said about how long did it take for you to get, like, when you would ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Because last year, my daughter and I got hit by a car. We were on our little razors, little scooters, and we got hit. We were going through a crosswalk and a car went flying through, took us both out. And in the back of the ambulance, once I knew she was stable enough, it was before we had her CAT scan on her brain and stuff like that, but she was alive, I was alive, and they let us ride in the back of me in the back of the ambulance with her. And the first thing I asked, it was not, why is this happening to me? Why me? Why? It was, what am I learning from this? What did I not learn the first time I got hit from a car that I need to learn now? And I thought maybe my next book should be Look Both Ways. I'm kidding. I really don't want to write a book like that. But I think that it's getting in the habit of training your brain to go to any thought that you want it to have. And it's that neuroplasticity you hear so many people talk about. John Azaroff talks about it. Gosh, there's books written upon it. And for me, I feel like I have this bully that lives in my head, and I like to keep it locked up in a cage. And it's that inner critic, the one that says, oh, you're just not good enough. Well, of course you didn't figure it out because you're stupid. Who do you think you are? Like, you're not smart enough. Well, they just don't like you. Like, all the thoughts. Like, I don't know if you ever have any of those thoughts, but my bully, that inner critic, can be loud and mean. And so how I keep it locked up in its cage is, the minute I start to have one of those thoughts, I twist it and affirm a new and better belief. I interviewed John Acuff on my podcast, and he's got this book. It's great. It's called Soundtracks. And he says a soundtrack, a playlist listened over and over again, often enough, becomes a soundtrack in your mind over and over. So what soundtrack are you creating in your mind? And it's up to us to be able to change that soundtrack, and we can interrupt it, we can pause it, we can get rid of it, but it's up to us. And that's powerful, to know that we can control the thoughts in our own mind. And that's one thing, when I was out of work and I couldn't control the way I looked, and all the scars and my deformed leg and my fused ankle and all the, my leg full of metal, and I wasn't able to train clients like I used to. And I couldn't control a lot of things, but I could control the way I felt about the situation. And I could control a lot of how I felt by doing one thing. And that was by focusing on gratitude. And that's something I still do every single day. I practice gratitude in the morning, is actually when I write it out, and I text. Well, I've got a group of girlfriends. I call them my God Squad, and we text what we're grateful for. We actually use an app now to make it easier and faster, and we just get on there, and it's like, it's become a habit. And the other day, I was having one of those days where I was like, oh man, life is hard. things suck. I just can't get caught up. I'm just too slow. Like the whole soundtrack was starting. And my gratitude list was kind of crappy. And halfway through, it got a little better. At the end, it was really great. And the way I felt had shifted. And it's one thing when you can think about what you're grateful for. It's another thing when you can write it down and really focus on it. Like sometimes it's hard to be grateful when you're in a crappy situation, but when you can share that gratitude with someone and express it and feel it, and you can share it with friends, and then you read what they're grateful for. And, there was a day when I was having a little bit of a pity party, and I read what one of my friends' gratitude, what was on her list, and she was grateful that it was her last day of chemo. And I thought,
Mm.
oh my gosh, I don't have cancer. I'm grateful I'm alive. I can walk. I might be in pain, but I can walk. Suddenly, I started feeling better, not just mentally, but physically. I went and worked out. And so, gratitude's alchemy. I say this all the time because it's true that gratitude really changes what you don't have into what you do have. It gets you focused on all the things you do have instead of what you don't have. And it gets you focused on all the things that you can do instead of what you can't do.
That's so powerful. I've heard it said, what you think is what you say is what you do becomes your legacy. And so how powerful your thought is. And like, if you have those negative thoughts, guess what? It's going to come out of you at some point. But if you have those thoughts of gratitude and positive thoughts, and continually rehearsing that, having a soundtrack of positivity and gratuity, like, I mean, it's super powerful is what I'm hearing. So that's super impressive that, it's a part of one of your habits. And before I go into the next question, listen, ladies and gentlemen, do me a huge favor. If you're learning something tonight, and which I am, I almost have a full page of notes, as you can see.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Listen, you're on here more for me than them. I promise you that, because I want to learn from someone like you, and like I take every opportunity to do so. But listen, I guarantee you, there's someone in your network that needs to hear what Amberly has to say tonight. So do me a favor, hit that share button, and let's let everyone hear what Amberly has to say tonight. So my next question, Amberly, is going to be kind of about those habits. I mean, you talked about the gratuity, talking about the daily affirmations and whatnot. But what's some other daily habits that you use yourself that you would highly recommend others to adopt as well?
Oh, that's such a great question. And, it's so much about mindset and really feeding your vision with positivity. But sometimes it's hard to get positive. It's hard. People think that I'm the most positive person out there, and I'm the most motivated, and I'm not. I really have to work at it, and it's through the habits that I have built. And so on days where I might be struggling and I'm like, gosh, what is up with my mind? I mean, just a couple of nights ago, my husband was like, what is wrong with you? You're so edgy and crabby and negative. Who are you? And I was like, you know what? You're right. And I needed a break. Sometimes we need to unplug, but often it's that I need to move my body, and
Mm,
moving your body moves your mood.
mm,
And so, you know, I can be in my office all day, all night. Like I can be here, and then I don't know if you've ever felt like this where you're like, how was I on my computer for 17 hours today? Like that's crazy. Like what happened to the day? And so
forgot to eat lunch and dinner, and
I know, right? It's like because we love what we do so much, but then it's like, oh, and just, not that long ago, I started letting some of my daily habits slip a little bit. And I started to feel I started to notice the way I feel, which, it reduces what I can do, and how motivated I am to show up and do a good job at work. It affects everybody in our family and our relationships. It affects the way we love, the way we lead, and is how we feel. And so for me, the most important thing is, man, if you don't feel good, you're not going to do good. But if you feel good, you're going to be able to do good and do more. And so I say, put you on your list. I'm big on sticky notes. So I've got like these sticky notes
Love
everywhere.
it. Love it.
And I love crossing things off. I
Yes.
make sure I put myself on my to-do list, and I move my body every day because it also releases endorphins that make you feel better. It gives you confidence. Um, and for me, it's really important because it also releases endorphins that combat pain. And so a lot of times people might think, well, I hurt. I don't want to work out. It's going to make me hurt worse. There's always something that you can do. When I was in the hospital, my doctors thought, okay, we got a crazy one in here. They thought I was crazy because I actually requested to have a pull up bar installed over my hospital bed. I was bedridden. I couldn't stand up on my own. I couldn't even sit down beside the hospital bed on my own because I had to have my leg was held together by these metal rods. But I could do pull-ups, and I thought, I need a pull-up bar so I can keep my upper body strong. I might not be able to keep my lower body strong, but I can work on my upper body. And it's not that I was trying to get these huge muscles, but working out made me feel like I was in a little bit of control of my body and
Mm.
moving in the right direction. And so I always say, start where you are, do use what you have and do whatever you can, but just keep moving forward. There's days when I have so much pain that I'm limping again. And I try not to limp, and I don't want to limp. Sometimes I don't realize I'm even limping. Some days I do, but there's so many things that I still can do. And so moving your body, taking care of your body, like I used to believe that I didn't need supplements. I
Mm.
was wrong. I mean, I don't, we can't, I mean, you can get a lot of good supplements in organic food, especially if you live on a farm. But in today's life and the way the markets are, and we need supplements. I mean, I'm having mine now. I have mine. And so I make sure that I'm moving my body, I'm taking my supplements. Every morning, I have a morning ritual that I do, and I have a nightly ritual I do. In the morning, I I wake up before anybody else wakes up in my family, which means I get up at 5. And my girlfriend today, I got to meet one of my girlfriends at lunch, and she said, "Wow, I'm so impressed that you get up at 5." And I'm like, I get up because that's the only time of day that I have for me.
Mm.
And so I think it's important to set aside time for you to not just work on your gratitude list, but to do any kind of reading that's going to inspire you, inspire your thoughts, make you think more positively. That it's important for you to set aside time during your day to focus on your intentions. And I mean, aren't your big dreams worth 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes? And then every night, my nightly routine is, I have tea, I read a book, and again, I practice gratitude. I get in bed and I snuggle with my daughter, and I'm like, what is the best thing that happened to you? What's one thing you're grateful for? And what's the weirdest thing that happened to you? And so that gets her in a practice of gratitude. And what you think about before you go to bed affects your subconscious, affects your sleep, and it affects your day the next day. And so I think it's just as important to have some sort of nightly routine where you unplug, get off social media, follow your heart, ask yourself questions before you go to bed, like, what is it that you want to do with your life? What brings you joy? What is it that is going to be the action step that you could take tomorrow that would move the needle on your business? Who
Mm.
are the people that you envision seeing yourself with when you achieve that next big goal? Like, really start asking good questions so you dream about it. It gets in your subconscious. And so those are a few of the habits that I do that are like non-negotiables, and then a million other ones good, some not so good. We've all
I
I've
love
almost
that.
cured the frozen yogurt. I seriously, I had a bad habit of loving to go out and get frozen yogurt, and I've almost cured that because there's not really many good frozen yogurt places where we live now. So there you go. Just take yourself out of that element, and there you go. Cured that habit.
So I'm a big ice cream fan, and I cut it out, about 5 weeks ago. And like when I say ice cream, I want to I kind of clarify. I had ice cream in my coffee in the morning. I had ice cream pretty much at every meal. Okay, so like I was eating a lot of ice cream, but I feel great now that I cut it out. I still miss it, still like
Wow.
it. Hey, I want to bring this up. Michael Glover, thank you for joining us tonight. He just said he is buying your book for his whole staff. So super excited to make that connection. So that's awesome. Michael Glover's a good friend. He runs an incredible business, and definitely need to make some introductions there because I think that there might be some synergy. But
Thank
just
you.
wanted to
Thank
let you
you so
know.
much, Michael. Thank you.
Now, you mentioned, the routines. Now, on the days that are this, you're hearing the bully and you're having a hard time, kicking them out with your own, positive soundtrack. What are you doing? Like, can we talk about accountability? Do you have? I mean, I know you mentioned the app with your God Squad, if I said it correctly, but is there any other accountability that you have? And how would you prioritize accountability in your personal professional life?
Oh, it's huge. So I kind of mentioned earlier about this 5-part method I have called the PACER method. And we've talked a little bit about some of these steps. And so PACER stands for perspective, acceptance, community, endurance, and rest. And that first part, perspective, is our ability to shift our perspective. And the quickest and easiest way to do that is with gratitude. The next part is, acceptance. And it's really being aware, like taking the blinders off and asking yourself, like getting real with yourself and going, okay, how's this working for me? Is what I'm doing really hurting me or helping me? Like, which one is it? Because everything we do is either moving us closer towards our goals or
Mm,
further away. It's either helping us or hurting us. And we can't really start any kind of transformation, whether it's personal or business or professional transformation, until we get into acceptance and take a look at what is going on in our life. And so that leads me to the next part, which is kind of what you're asking, the accountability part, which is community. Now, community might be the most important part of PACER because, look, I've tried to do a lot of things alone and it didn't work. I mean, after my motorcycle accident, I was a dancer and athlete my whole life. I wasn't a big party girl. I was busy, when all my friends were in college and partying, I was busy collecting their tips. But after my accident, when I'd tried everything for pain and nothing was working, I started drinking and I got in a really bad habit of drinking and I couldn't stop. And it wasn't until I had a community of people and support and accountability did I start to really take a good hard look at my life and really feel like, okay, I can get through this. Number one, I think that having that accountability to yourself is learning to start trusting yourself again, that you can, like for you, you can say no to ice cream in your coffee. Then maybe you can cut it out for lunch. Then, look, a whole day went by and you didn't have ice cream. I mean, that's a huge deal. That's huge when you're used to having it that often. I mean, for me, it was like, how am I going to drink? Because it's the only thing that numbs out my pain. And one day at a time, one step at a time, with a community of people and having that accountability, I did. And I think that, success is built from relationships. And I'm grateful that I have an amazing community of people in business. I think that's the most important thing to me in business is the trust. I've got a list of my values, and the first one is just honesty, man, like trust. And if I have to make a decision, if there's a person that's done something that I don't trust, or they, have said something I don't trust, it's easy. It's a hard no. I mean, trust is everything, but accountability is everything. And the E is for endurance. And that's where that grit and perseverance comes into play. That's how when we tap into our why, we can get through almost anyhow. There's always a way. There's always a round, always a way over. We can get through anyhow when we just tap into our why. And the last part is the one that I am the hardest. It's been the hardest thing, but I'm getting better at it, is rest. I love grit. I love working. It's something that I'm passionate about. This might sound bad, but I actually like proving when somebody says I can't do something. I'm like, oh, really? Watch me. I'm going to do it. Like if my husband doesn't say that anymore. He's like, oh no, now I know when you tell me you're going to do something, you do it. But, and if anybody listening tonight wants more information about this PACER method, I'm happy to give it to you. You can text me at 818-214-7378. Just text me the word grit, GRIT, just that word. Text me something. Hi, how you doing? Whatever.
Oh, wait, say that number again. 818.
It's 818
Yep.
214-7378. And just text the word grit, and you'll get your free downloadable. It's just a free download, and it tells you, because I think it's important when you hear something inspiring, but I want you to have something to take with you so you can look, okay, if you're having, trouble getting through a hard time, whether it's in your business or your professional, if you're feeling doubtful, if you're anxious, if you're just feeling sad, whatever it may be, and you need more resilience, this is the 5-part set that'll really break down the things and help you, little playbook, so you can add that into your work, your play, your professional, your personal, and really claim your resilience.
I love that. Now, you also, in the setup of this, you mentioned the gratuity journal for your free offer. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh, yeah. You know what? I have a gratitude journal. I have to say, so 5 years ago, when I bought a computer and started, built a website. Now, I had a website built before for my fitness business, but I needed to create something now for the speaking and coaching and podcast and book and all that. And I didn't know how to work social media. So I figured that out. And then they're like, well, you need some sort of download. I'm like, what does that even mean? And so I thought, what is something that has made a huge difference in my life? And that's gratitude. And so I put together just a simple 3-page downloadable gratitude journal. And it is the most downloaded thing that I've ever created. I've created workbooks, playbooks, given away headsets, microphone, you name it. I've done a lot. The gratitude journal is the most downloadable thing. So yes, that's the free gift for your audience as well. I want to shower your audience with gifts and give them as many things as I can. So they'll get the playbook and the gratitude journal.
I love it. I love it. Now, tell me, your book, does your book go into the PACER method, or is that kind of have a whole other track as far as the book is concerned?
Actually, no. True Grit and Grace is a memoir meant to inspire. So it's broken up into small chapters, and it's meant to teach lessons through all the failures, all the trials and tribulations I've had everything from sexual abuse to divorce to the motorcycle accident, to sobriety, to give others hope. It's really a call to your courage, a call to your resilience so that you can have the life that you've always dreamed of, no matter even if your circumstances have narrowed your possibilities. And so, yeah, it's a memoir meant to inspire. And then my TED Talk, I really break down the PACER method more. And then I actually have a couple of book ideas, and this is my little nudge to get those out there. So thank you for that.
All right. So this audience will be your accountability. When do you have a date set for your new book launch?
No, I have to write it first.
Oh, no. You got to just set the date and then reverse engineer it.
Oh, yes. Okay. Well, the reason I say I have to write it first, I have to decide if I'm going to do self-publishing or traditional publishing. If I'm going to do traditional publishing, then saying a date like, okay, I'm going to have it in 2025 would be realistic, because the traditional publishing world can take up to 2 years. If I'm doing self-publishing, I could say, I'm going to have this book out by next year, and it could be done. So first, I think it's so important to ask yourself those questions. Okay, what do I want to do? Self-publishing? Do I want it to be, so important to ask yourself questions like, is it going to be a daily affirmations or a daily, is it a memoir? Is it a self-help? What is it? And so I have a book idea I want, because I love reading. In this bookshelf back here, I have like my daily reflections. And I'm very spiritual. So I've got my Bible and I read out of that. I've got just different books that are my favorite books that I read out of, because I like sometimes reading just a short passage. And then I love reading inspirational books as well. So I'd like to do another book that's like a how-to book, and then do another book that's more like a, daily reflections type book.
So for the person listening tonight that has considered the idea of writing a book, what would you tell that person?
Just start writing. I mean, seriously, I hand wrote, I would say 80 to 90% of my book.
Wow.
And then I was like, I want to write a book. And then I was like, okay, well, I did go and take a class, because that really helped give me the confidence to continue writing, because I started writing and I started losing confidence. Like, who do I think I am? Like, that bully started coming out in my head again. And so I actually went to Jack Grapes in LA. He's I think he's the best teacher, especially in the LA area. And he's got this method writing class. And I couldn't take the beginning class, so I had to, because of my schedule. And so I took the advanced class, and we had to read what we had written in front of the class. And in this class, it was all like authors, poets, like published authors, writing authors, and then me. And I got up and read, and my hands were shaking. I sat down, and he said, "Why did you take my class?" And I said, "Well, I really want to write a book." And I was crying. I was emotional. And he said, "Well, let me tell you something. You will write a book." He said, "Because after hearing what you just read out to us, your homework," he goes, "you may have been intimidated coming in here, but let me tell you, everybody's intimidated by what they just heard." And I was like, "Oh, wow." He goes, "You will write a book." And sometimes I think that it's nice if we have somebody that believes in us before we can believe in ourselves, so we can start to believe in ourselves, to give us that little nudge, that little encouragement that we need. And so that really was encouragement for me. And then when I had accountability, I hired an editor who was like, "Yeah, I'm going to need this many pages by this time." And so it was really, doing something to build my confidence. It was taking daily action and setting aside time to actually write. And then it was holding myself accountable by hiring an editor. Now, some of you may be going, I don't have the extra funds right now to hire an editor, or I wouldn't know where to start. Find one of your friends that will be your accountability partner and hold you to it for writing, and start there.
I love that. So, as we come to an end, I kind of want to recap some of the major points that I took notes on. First thing you mentioned was it's about them, not you. I put a big star right there. Your hard work puts you where your blessings can find you. I love that. Put yourself on your to-do list. That's incredible, because so often people neglect themselves. And success is built from relationships. Those were probably the biggest, takeaways I took, from tonight, outside of obviously the PACER method, which was perspective, acceptance, community, endurance, and rest. Is there any last, well, before I say any last things, where can people find you? Like, how can people best find you and get in your community?
Oh, well, I'm just so grateful for you having me here in your amazing community. And you can find me at amberlylago.com, some of the behind the scenes shenanigans at Amberly Lago Motivation on Instagram. And there in either on my website, and my website's also on Instagram, in my link tree, you can find my latest episodes, my book. You can message me. And my podcast is True Grit and Grace. My book is True Grit and Grace. And I just want to say thank you for being such an incredible interviewer. And thank you for inviting me to be in your, with your community. It was so awesome to get to meet you. And when you asked me to be on your show, I was just so honored. So thank you.
And really, it's true. The honor's mine. It really is. I mean, literally, I almost went to 2 pages over here of notes. So like you hit it out of the park. You really brought an incredible perspective, and that's why I want to bring people like you on this show, is so that other people can grow their businesses more effectively, efficiently, profitably, all while achieving their personal, professional, financial goals, and by putting themselves first, putting themselves on a list to take care of mentally, physically, spiritually, all those things. I mean, I absolutely love your perspective. Incredible job tonight. So thank you for your time. Is there any last things you would like to leave, the audience with?
I would just say, ask for help. That's another thing that I think is really, really important. Ask for help. You are not alone. You don't have to do it alone. It will help you in every aspect of your life, in your business. And ask boldly and humbly, but ask for help. Don't do it alone. If you want to get to point A to point B faster, ask for help. That changed my life. It changed my career. So yeah, I think if you can take away anything from the show, that it would be that.
Love it. Amberly Lago, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And you can join us every Tuesday from 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for Rescue Owners Live. This concludes Season 2, Episode 14. We'll see you next Tuesday for Rescue Owners Live.